So as you may or may not know, my voice has been shot for an entire week now. And it stinks. And it's horrible. I just want to record stuff for you guys. But instead you'll have to do with a very special guest of mine. My father has volunteered to take over for me today. So I would like to, give the stage to Lord Ayme. Sit up straight.
Sort of.
You know how to do this. You're going to sing. Come on.
Oh. It had been a long day of driving back from my brother's wedding across the country. As miles and miles of forests passed me by, I regret not taking a plane. I'd wanted to see the countryside, but I'd forgotten my fill of Route 50 on the drive over. Now I just wanted to get home. Unfortunately, home was another 8 hours away, and sleep was creeping up on me. I pulled into a motel off the interstate, paid for my room, and threw myself on the bed without even taking my shoes off. I closed my eyes and tried to sleep. Tap, crackle, scrape. The noise roused me from my half-conscious state. I looked up and saw someone at the window. The clear silhouette of a man staring at me, watching, tapping his hands on the glass. I let out a yell and tumbled over the side of my bed, heart racing as I reached for anything I could use as a weapon. The best I came up with was my sweaty dress shoes. Clutching one firmly in my hand, I popped my head over the edge of the bed and peered out the window. There was no one there. Just a bush. A stupid bush scraping against the window in the wind. This wasn't the first time sleep deprivation had made me see things that weren't there, but it felt so real this time. My cheeks burned red from embarrassment. Attacker or no attacker, I was now wide awake. Body flushed with so much adrenaline that there was no hope of falling asleep. Since I wasn't going to get a lick of rest anyways, I figured I might as well get back on the ride. I tiptoed out of the motel room, staring at the plant from the corner of my eyes. Under the cover of night, it looked sinister. The breeze made it sway delicately like lovers dancing, but the gnarled branches and humanoid shape evoked a sense of dread at the pit of my stomach. I knew the silhouette was just a mix of vines and foliage, but it still felt like more, like it had a presence of its own. I sidestepped all the way to my car, not wanting to take my eyes off it, for fear that it would chase after me. Even as I put the key in the ignition and pulled out of the parking lot, I still kept it in my line of sight. And as the motel shrunk in my rearview mirror, I could have sworn I saw the bush scurrying off into the woods. Route 50 was long. No exits or rest stops for miles at a time, leaving me with nothing to look at but stretches of wilderness. Trees guarded both sides of the road and extended their reach over it, as though trying to encapsulate the highway in their shadow. As the hours progressed and the adrenaline wore off, I found myself in desperate need of sleep. I pulled into the next motel I came across, but before I even got out of the car, I spotted something on the edge of the forest. Figures shuddering in the moonlight, dozens of them. When I squinted to get a better look, all I found were more bushes. However, as soon as I looked away, they seemed to morph into moving shapes, drawing closer and closer to the motel. Had sleep deprivation made me paranoid? Try as I might, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched by them. I stared at the lobby doors tiredly, weighing my options. I couldn't do it. I couldn't get out of the car. My hands refused to let go of the steering wheel, and my guts told me to just keep driving. I figured I'd find a coffee shop a few miles down the road, maybe a gas station with energy drinks. Either way, I'd get some caffeine in me so I could last a few more hours. There were no gas stations, no coffee shops, no rest stops, no exits, nothing for miles. I was exhausted, barely able to keep my eyes open. The radio was blaring loudly. I'd opened it, hoping it would keep me alert, but fatigue made the music sound muffled, distant and distorted. It was just as distorted as my vision was becoming. My eyes couldn't focus anymore. They couldn't differentiate between objects and shadows. My mind was just as unconfused, switching from idle thoughts to reruns of conversations I'd had that weekend. I even caught myself answering a question I'd been asking days ago and mumbling incoherent things beneath my breath. The car swerved and hit the guardrail. My head snapped up in shock. Shit! Sparks flew. I gripped the wheel tightly and pulled back on the road. I'd fallen asleep at the wheel. I couldn't go on any longer. It was dangerous. I drove just far enough to find a place to pull over on the side of the road. I took the keys out of the ignition, reclined my seat, crossed my hands on my lap, and closed my eyes for a quick nap. I could hear light rain starting to fall, lulling me to sleep. Sweet, merciful sleep. I don't know how long I slept, but it felt like only minutes before I was woken up by noises outside my car. I looked out the window and saw figures surrounding the vehicle, dozens of twig-like hands slamming against the windows. The things outside were hidden in shadows, groaning and moaning like wounded animals. I could only make out their blurry leafy outlines as they repeatedly assaulted my car. I couldn't tell where one started and the other one ended. In my sleep-deprived state, I couldn't think clearly. I shuddered in fear as the car shook violently from every shove. I was terrified they'd turn it over, and that I'd get crushed in the process. Click, 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 click. They were trying to open the doors. Fear hit me like a lightning bolt and charged me with the surge of energy I needed to slam my hand against the lock button as quickly as I could. The doors were already locked, but at least I knew for sure. Whoop! One of them jumped on the hood of the car and crawled towards the windshield. I could see its mouth wide open in an O shape as its ghastly howls escaped his lips. I turned the car on. The figures at the front cried and fled from the beams of my headlights. They shuffled to the sides and joined the others in trying to break through. I hit the gas pedal and pushed it all the way down. The wheels screeched in protest, spinning in the now muddy terrain, but the car rolled forward, sending the creature on the hood flying over the edge. I heard a thud as it landed on the road behind me. The car roared down the highway at full speed. In the rear view mirror, I could see the figures running after me, arms stretched up as though cursing the heavens, but as a ray of sunlight broke through the horizon, all I could see were bushes on the side of the road. I drove non-stop the rest of the way home, unsure if I'd seen what I'd seen. Had it all been a figment of my sleep-deprived mind? As I exited the car, I found all the proof I needed to confirm what had happened. There were scratches all over the doors. Porcupine-like quills burrowed into my front bumper and a mix of vicious black paste and wooden splinters clinging to the door handles. There's one more thing I noticed. I can't tell for sure, but it seems like there are more bushes around the house than I remember. And since then, I've been hearing scratching at the window at night.